All right, so we're back here with another episode of Cameo, sitting in the Uptown Motivo. This time, not sure if the last episode when I was in the downtown Motivo is now out, but this location was chosen by my guest today, Jordan Wilhelm. I'll let him introduce himself and correct me if I said his last name incorrectly.
Oh, good. Yeah, my name is Jordan Wilman, and what a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. And we're both, I think, drinking coffee black.
Yeah, that's the way to have it.
Yeah, black like my heart. And so Jordan is another young guy like myself who's kind of in this new media space, playing, doing different events, putting stuff on, trying to be social and helping businesses connect online. I'll kind of explain what you do, because the way you actually phrase it is kind of different than a lot of the people I've seen out there who are kind of more Instagram driven, more I'm social media marketer, and call themselves a marketer, but you don't call yourself a marketer per se. You brand yourself differently. So I'll let you explain how you share your services.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So basically, my major in school anyway right now, as I'm finishing up, is communications and PR, and I consider myself more as a PR communication professional. So I focus a lot on brand and identity building within an organization or an individual, which is social media is a part of it, but especially in your day-to-day life. So as much as it's important to have a great online presence, you have to bring it in an authentic manner in your day-to-day life, because a lot of people see through BS. And what I've noticed from being in the industry for the last year and a half or so, even a couple of years doing volunteer stuff through school, is that a lot of people in the industry kind of miss it. And when I'm doing work with clients and one-on-one work, I just find that they miss that client interaction and that objective of getting better and kind of improving your overall brand and status. It's not as simple as making a post or just, oh, wow, this is a popular share. You actually have to create good content. And especially now in this day and age, and we talked a little bit about this with Hootsuite earlier, is there's no clear-cut way to get yourself out there. You have to be able to create your own brand. So there's no shortcuts anymore, the way with Facebook, Google Analytics, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all of these networks, you really need to be driving good, authentic content with your brand. So when I'm working with these companies or individuals and I'm doing consultation sessions with them and consulting with them and helping their brand, I'm able to help educate them and build content with them, because they're the ones in their organizations. So at the end of the day, you can hire somebody to do all your stuff, but they're not in your organization, they're not in your culture, they don't live it and breathe it. So it's very easy now to see online when somebody does a promotional ad or some PR ad where you can totally tell it was done by somebody that wasn't in the industry, and it was like, yeah, we just hired somebody to do that. And I've heard a lot of horror stories where businesses have been just chafed from these firms that are like charging them a ridiculous amount of money, and you see the kind of work that's there, and okay, it's all flashy and nice, but there's no context and content. So I really like working on that with my clients and helping them succeed and get better in the long term, because it's always a long-term process.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with content. I'm obsessed with a lot of things that happens when you're an addict, but context is something that, I think people forget a lot in this day in a variety of ways, and I could rant on about context for far too long than we have. But as someone who's young, right, young in the industry, I'm sure there's lots of other people out there who might be listening who are also young, who are going out to trying to get their clients, trying to build this stuff. As another young entrepreneur, how do you really create that reputation? For me, I decided to come out with a bang, and I think I've kind of established some good milestones to kind of let me build that reputation. But as someone who's been in the industry, and I didn't know about you till you almost reached out a month ago or so. Right. How do you build your reputation as a young entrepreneur that is going to actually deliver real results?
That's a really good question. Really good. For me, my thought process is always, all I care about is I want them to be successful, and I want to serve them. You have to be of service to other people. So for me, when I'm doing my thing, I don't work for a boss, I work for the client. So for a lot of people in jobs, they don't work for those clients, they work for their boss. So for me, it's really, really, really important that my clients get the utmost best valuable perspectives, content, advice, and understanding of their process, because your name and reputation is on the line. All of that stuff, money, all name recognition, that comes along with it down the road, but your number one priority is always about providing the value. So when people ask me, and I have a couple consultations that I'm working on right now, and they're like, oh, how do you do it with a client? I'm like, well, I cater to my clients. So what kind of, I have my service listing, absolutely, but what do you want? What are you expecting? So it's putting it in the hands of my clients and the people I want to work with, so I have a better understanding. The problem in my industry is a lot of admin and people that have been in the industry for 20, 30 years, they sit down with them, and I've seen meetings like this, and it blows my mind of like, this is what you need to do, blah, blah, and they're just telling you, and there's no conversation, there's no listening. So I really like to listen. I think that's the best part. Listen to what your potential client or people that you're going to be working with, what they need and what they want, so you can work with them on it and add value. It's all about adding value to their life, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, and so I've checked out your content, which there isn't a lot. That's Jordan Willman. I think I said that right, Willman.
Yeah.
I think there isn't a lot of content out there of you, which I think in itself is kind of a catch-22, because you want to have lots of content for people to recognize, hey, you know this space, you understand the new media space, and you get it. But also, if you're making too much content about yourself, you're not making content for your clients. And I wholeheartedly believe the best marketers are the ones you don't even know the name of. And so I think, it's really cool for me to meet you in the sense that, a month ago I had no idea who you were, but you've had some pretty big, interesting clients that you've worked with. Is there any that you're willing to kind of share some of the projects you've worked on with?
Well, for sure. One of them I can really work on with is I've been kind of more on the industrial kind of side, so more the professional side. So I've done stuff with different industries like Sun Life and the BMO Nesbitt Rinaldi Group. Actually, my uncle's kind of side of the firm, like they hired me and contracted me because I did a project for him, a lecture for him a couple months ago, and he was like, hey, can we just like hire you on? You really have an understanding and what you know. So I had no issue with it. One that I'm working on right now is actually with Trevor Finch and the Finch Group. And I'm actually working with a couple of his realtors, working on their individual brands and helping them find success for it, and it's been great. And then Trevor, I was really flattered because Trevor Finch was telling me that he's been approached by a lot of different firms in town, and they wanted to do work with him, and he wasn't interested. And it was actually a couple of his realtors that recommended me. They said, hey, Jordan's been helping me out, and he checked out some of the works and the clients, and he said, hey, can we like talk? And I said, yeah, and then I explained everything, and I'm actually working on a full lecture presentation I'm giving them, I think within the next week or two here, which will be excellent to really help give him and his clients or his realtors value that they can use in their individuality and their social media platforms and their individual personal branding and working on with it. And I was really flattered. So that's one that I'm working really hard on right now, and kind of coming up with ideas, because I make everything specific to the client, and I like to spend time on it, because I'm not just, I can do general stuff, but I really like getting to the meat and bones of what the client wants. So that's an exciting project with the Finch Group, and helping him and his team excel in a very competitive market for them. So he understands the value on it. But also, I'm an OBS guy, so a lot of these people I've been working with appreciate the aspect that at the end of the day, I just want them to be successful. If they work with me for one time, I'm okay with that, because I've done my job and I've helped provide them value they're gonna see it long term. And the most gratifying thing that I get is when I get messages or text messages or calls from people I've done work with, like a week or two later, they're like, hey, we really kind of found something for what you suggested, or what you helped us out with really kind of worked. And I mean, even when I did some Kamloops BC Now work, I'm really proud of that, because I was really slugging it out, doing different events and stuff, and getting the name out there. And when Rob at the end of the summer is like, Jordan, we're hiring a couple new people, we're expanding, I was stoked. Like, that's what I love seeing. So just providing that value.
Yeah, as another person who appreciates no bullshit, not that I swear very often on this podcast. I'm going to try and stop swearing when my daughter comes. But as someone who's been servicing clients for quite a few years, whether it be more public or volunteering, whatever it be, things do go wrong. It's client work. Your expectations will never always match with everyone. Do you have any advice to share with anyone who finds themselves coming up with a client that they're working with, and that they want to work with, but they're having that issue with matching. Should they leave that client? Should they reevaluate that client? How would you approach that?
That's a really good question. Man, you're just killing it. One of the ways that I've kind of really looked at things is from a very objective standpoint. So when you take the emotion out of it, is the situation actually working? Are you guys providing value to them? Like, is the customer or the client that you're working with, and I've had this talk with a few, entrepreneurs in this town, like Stacy Crowlow, for instance. Are you working with somebody that, are they just providing you with headaches the entire time? Or are you working with somebody that truly wants your help, truly wants your service? Because if you're in a no-win situation, I'm a big believer that sometimes you just got to cut the loss and move on, because at the end of the day, you don't want to have that toxic energy just bouncing off of you, especially if you love what you do. Like, I love what I do, so it's really engaging when I'm working with people that want to do well and want to kill it, because that's my mentality, to fucking kill it. Always kill it. Go for it, right? So when you're with somebody, for me, and I've had this issue actually a few months back with a client of mine and for a firm that I was doing some work for, and it was unpleasant, but you learn something from it. So I'm always a big believer, even for negative situations, you're always learning something, and you just kind of got to sometimes learn when to just kind of cut breaks and move on, and that's okay. There's no shame in that, right?
Totally. And to, I guess, segue a little bit, I've been obsessed with story, and I've shared this with certain groups on Facebook that I'm a part of. The idea of recognizing when someone is mentoring and pointing you in a direction, and to have that moment of guidance or moment of clarity that someone is guiding you and kind of pointing that direction. Sometimes, not lining up with a client might be for the best, right? Because it's always long-term. And if you aren't thinking long-term, there isn't any value in short-term. You only need a couple really good, faithful fans. Sales is a one-to-one sales process. I'm a salesperson more than a media person, more than a marketer.
Right.
And I would be lying to you if I told you in university I thought I was a marketer and I would never do sales.
For sure.
They go hand in hand. And it's nice that there's the removal of the negative connotation of salespeople lately, in the sense of everyone wants to be an entrepreneur these days, but it's definitely challenging, and I respect that you've gotten out and hacked your way here and made it. I think I was taking a look at your LinkedIn. You come from a retail side of things into before school.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because when I was my first job was when I was 14, 15, and I was cleaning up garbage at my school, St. Anne's Academy at the time. And then my next kind of job was actually at my uncle's hedge at Nesbitt Burns in his Rinaldi investment inside. And he said, hey, usually we'll hire a university student or so to do some account filing for the summer. I was 16. And it was a 2-month kind of thing. It was a couple times a week. And I remember my mom being at the time, oh, you should just do it just to get some experience on your resume. And I just kind of did, my thing, did my job. And at the end of the summer, Harvey Comazetto, the president there, he was like, hey, do you want to you want to stay for the summer? They really like the work. And I was like, okay. And I just made sure whatever I did to do a really good job. And then when I got laid off there, around when I was 19 or so, I did some retail jobs to kind of help pay throughout my schooling. And I learned a lot from a lot of those because I worked at Below the Belt. We had an amazing core group of a team, and everybody was accountable, and it was an amazing place to work. I worked at another retail store. I actually got laid off because of, I had to leave because of harassment in the workplace, so I got put on EI and everything. And it was horrible, there's the fluctuations, right, of life, right? And it was kind of a depressing time, but I learned a lot just from that, because you would have, in some jobs, managers being like, oh, I don't care, get the sale regardless, but I was always just honest and upfront and say, this is the situation, hey, it doesn't bother me. And just by doing that, it's amazing the kind of people that you can attract, sales or whatnot.
Don't sell the unsellable, right?
Exactly.
If they don't want to be sold, don't sell them, right?
Of course.
And that's the beauty of kind of the space you're working in right now, right? Where you get to be selective a little bit, because while you're being selective, it's where you can actually deliver results. And if you aren't delivering results, then I don't know. That's a whole nother story, I guess, to have.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
We're at the 14-minute mark there, Jordan, and so I want you to just kind of plug the last few closing thoughts you have, where people can find you, what you're doing next, and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'm really big on LinkedIn is kind of my main source. I get actually a lot of referrals and networking and work through there. So you can just search me on LinkedIn, Jordan Williman. I have my company page there, which is the same thing as my name. And then my website, jordanwilliman.com, so you can just even Google it.
Yeah, I got to get the .ca for mine too. Like, and just even if it's a redirect, got to support that Canadian domain.
I mean, those are my two big things, my website and my LinkedIn. And it really works for me, Wise, because my traffic's pretty decent, and I've been getting referrals, and that's the best place. And for me also, I display the companies and the people I work with on my website and that. So I think that kind of helps, because there's a lot of people that are, I do all this work, but who are some of your clients? So I think if you want to check out some of the things and projects I've been a part of, that's all on my website, and you can contact me there. My email is there as well, and you can, or through LinkedIn. So
cool. Well, thanks for following up with me and actually setting the event invite. That's the first time someone else has sent me a calendar invite. Which
got to get on it.
It's super important. Honestly, I would have forgotten if you hadn't done that.
No worries.
But because I'm going to be going off the grid pretty soon. But other than that, let's wrap this up. Check out Jordan Williman stuff if you're at all interested. If you're trying to make something happen, there's lots of entrepreneurs. Check out Krishna's episode. He's a pretty prolific marketer here in town, and huge supporter of young entrepreneurs in Kamloops and, the world. And other than that, I don't know how to end these things ever, so I hope you guys are having a great day, and peace.